Welcome back to This Week in Weed. Grab your grandma and your grav bomb, and let's take a look at this week's top stories. Representative Steve Cohen is urging the Obama administration to reclassify cannabis under federal law and to acknowledge its therapeutic utility, according to a September 12th letter sent by the congressman to the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy. Representative Cohen states in his letter to drug czar Gil Kurlikowski, marijuana does not belong on Schedule 1 of the Controlled Substances Act alongside hard drugs such as heroin. There is no evidence that marijuana has the same addictive qualities or damaging consequences as those harder drugs, and it should not be treated as such. Similarly, the so-called gateway drug theory has been thoroughly discredited with respect to marijuana. Marijuana ought to be placed at the lowest end of the CSA in accordance with its true risks. Under federal law, all substances classified as Schedule I drugs under the CSA must possess a high potential for abuse and have no accepted medical use and treatment. Representative Cohen adds, I was particularly disappointed that the ONDCP dismissed the medical benefits of marijuana. We should not deny the thousands of Americans who rely on marijuana and the benefits it provides. I strongly recommend that this administration allows states that have chosen to legalize medical marijuana to enact strong regulations without fear of prosecution. We should not interfere with the will of the people to enact these compassionate laws. Representative Cohen is an outspoken critic of the marijuana prohibition in this country, and he is a co-sponsor of H.R. 2306, the Ending Federal Marijuana Prohibition Act of 2011. Members of an 8-member work group deadlocked on the question of whether to recommend statewide legislation that would define a driver as criminally impaired if they operated a vehicle with levels of THC in their blood above 5 nanograms per milliliter. Members of the state's Drug Policy Task Force and the Colorado Commission on Criminal and Juvenile Justice will likely revisit the issue this fall. Earlier this year, lawmakers rejected legislation that sought to expand the state's drug driving laws by enacting per se standards for THC, the primary psychoactive substance in marijuana. Workgroup members who opposed the establishment of a per se statute, including co-chair Sean McAllister of the NORML Legal Committee, argued that additional legislation was unnecessary, unsupported by science, and unlikely to significantly improve public safety. According to the U.S. National Highway Safety Traffic Administration, driving fatality rates in Colorado fell over 20% between 1994 and 2009, a time when medical marijuana authorizations were rising. Further, according to the statistics presented to the workgroup by a representative of the Colorado Judicial Department, some 90% of those charged with DUI, drugs, or alcohol in the previous 4 years have been convicted. Members also cited data indicating that some of the chronic cannabis consumers may continue to test positive for the presence of low THC levels in their blood long after the impairing effects of the substance have subsided. A 1993 study commissioned by the U.S. Department of Transportation previously rejected the notion of equating blood THC levels with driver impairment, concluding, one of the program's objectives was to determine whether it is possible to predict driving impairment by plasma concentrations of THC and/or its metabolite, THC-COOH, in single samples. The answer is very clear. It is not. Plasma of drivers showing substantial impairment in these studies contain both high and low THC concentrations, and drivers with high plasma concentrations showed substantial, but also no impairment and even some improvement. The Massachusetts affiliate of the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, MassCan, will hold its 22nd annual Freedom Rally this Saturday, September 17th, at the Boston Commons in downtown Boston. The noon event, which is anticipated to draw over 50,000 attendees, is the largest public marijuana law reform gathering on the East Coast. Speakers at this year's event include NORML Executive Director Alan St. Pierre, NORML Founder and Legal Counsel Keith Stropp, NORML Women's Alliance Director Sabina Fendrick, MassCan President Michael Crawford, NORML Board Member Keith Saunders, MassCan Treasurer Stephen Epstein, Connecticut NORML Director Eric Williams, and High Times Associate Publisher Rick Cusick. Musical artists include Tree, Prospect Hill, Casey Desmond, and DJ Slim, among many others. For more information and to see a complete lineup of this year's speakers and musicians, please visit www.masscana.org. That was This Week in Weed. Thanks for watching, and tune back in next Thursday for the newest episode.